Good morning. It's late morning and we have a wonderful cloudy day today. It's quite a treat for us here in Phoenix. We've had such a stretch of, we even got up to 118 degrees one day. So this is quite a treat. But and it's still going to be above 100, but it's not 118. Anyway, last time I talked to you, there was a prophet named Agabus. When Paul was about ready to get on the ship and go back to Jerusalem, Agabus had warned him that he was going to be put in chains. Remember, he took up Paul's sash and he wrapped it around his wrists. And he took his thing off from his neck, wrapped around his eyes, but no, he wrapped it around his feet. This was a prophecy of what was going to happen to Paul if he went back to Jerusalem. But Paul went anyway, and he said, the Lord can use me either in my death or in my life. And that's the way it is with all of us that want to follow Christ. Sometimes we don't understand things. We say, but he loved you. Why? Why? But sometimes if we honor the Lord, and sometimes our death, look at is a little match that lights a big fire for the Lord. Look at when James was killed. Oh, how that lit a prairie fire and started the whole gospel going to the Gentiles. But anyway, enough of that. But just to bring you up to where we are now, Paul gets into Jerusalem, and he was walking with a couple of his Gentile friends there, and they were talking over things, and but some Pharisees spotted Paul, and they said, he's back. And they told the Romans where to find Paul to go and arrest him. And so this is what they did. And they put Paul in the chains and in the feet chains, just like it was prophesied. And but the crowd gathered around, the Jews gathered around, and those old Pharisees, they wanted him whipped and beaten, thrown into prison. But the Roman guards that came to arrest Paul says it was such confusion around there. They had to lift Paul up onto their shoulders and bring him through the crowd and get him off of the temple and into a side area there. They call it a fort in the scriptures. It was like a jail, sort of. But I want to read this to you right out of the scriptures because I want to get it right. And this is Paul's defense for all of this confusion that's going on. And Paul is able, he convinced the Romans to please let him speak to the crowd to settle them down, and they gave their permission. And here's what Paul said. As the soldiers were about to take Paul into the fort, they spoke to the commander, and they said, may I speak something to you? You speak Greek, do you? The commander asked Paul. Then you are not that Egyptian fellow who some time ago started a revolution and led 4,000 armed terrorists out into the desert? And Paul answered, I am a Jew, born in Tarsus in Cilicia, a citizen of an important city. Please let me speak to the people. Well, the commander gave him permission, so Paul stood up on the steps and motioned with his hand for the people to be silent. When they were quiet, Paul spoke to them in Hebrew. Paul could speak Greek and Hebrew. And he said, my fellow Jews, listen to me as I make my defense before you. When they heard him speaking to them in Hebrew, they became even quieter, and Paul went on speaking. I am a Jew, born in Tarsus in Cilicia. but brought up here in Jerusalem as a student of Gamaliel. I received strict instruction in the law of our ancestors and was just as dedicated to God as all of you who are standing out here today and accusing me. And Paul went on, I lost my place. I persecuted to death the people who followed this way. I arrested men and women and threw them into prison because they were following Jesus Christ. The high priest and the whole council can prove that I am telling that I am telling the truth. I received from them letters written to fellow Jews in Damascus. So I went there to arrest these people and bring them back in chains to Jerusalem to be punished. He says, I am a Jew. And he said, as I was traveling and coming near Damascus about midday, a bright light from the sky flashed suddenly around me. I fell to the ground and heard a voice saying to me, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? And I said, who are you? I asked. I am Jesus of Nazareth, whom you persecute. He said to me, the men with me saw the light, but did not hear the voice of the one who was speaking to me. And I asked, what shall I do, Lord? And the Lord said to me, get up and go into Damascus, and there you will be told everything that God has determined for you to do. I was blinded because of the bright light, and so my companions took me by the hand and led me into Damascus. In that city was a man named Ananias, a religious man who obeyed our law and was highly respected by all the Jews living there. He came to me, stood by me, and said, Brother Saul, see again. And Paul could see again, and the good of our ancestors has chosen you to know his will, to see his righteous servant, and to hear him speaking with his own voice. For you will be a witness for him, to tell everyone what you have seen and heard. And now, why wait any longer? Get up and go. Your sins have been washed away. I went back to Jerusalem, and while I was praying in the temple, I had a vision in which I saw the Lord as he said to me, hurry and leave Jerusalem quickly, because the people here will not accept your witness about me. Lord, I answered, they know very well that I went to the synagogues and arrested and beat those who believe in you. And when your witness, Stephen, was put to death, I myself was there approving of his murder and taking care of the cloaks of his murderers. Go, the Lord said to me, for I will send you far away to the Gentiles. And the people listened to Paul until he said this. But then they started shouting at the top of their voices, away with him, kill him. He's not fit to live. They were screaming and waving their clothes and throwing dust in the air. The Roman commander ordered his men to take Paul into the fort, and he told them to whip him in order to find out why the Jews were screaming like this against him. But when they had tied him up to be whipped, Paul said to the officer standing there, is it lawful for you to whip a Roman citizen who hasn't been even given a trial for his crime? So when the officer heard this, he went to the commander and asked him, what are you doing? This man is a Roman citizen. So the commander went to Paul and asked him, tell me, are you a Roman citizen? Yes, answered Paul. The commander said, I became one by paying a large amount of money. Is this what you did? No, he said, I am one by birth. And at once the men who were going to question Paul drew back from him, and the commander was frightened when he realized that Paul was a Roman citizen and that they had put him in chains. So I'm going to leave off there right now. I know I'm over time already. But it's just like Agabus said, it all came true. And what a mess is going on right now in Jerusalem. Oh, those old Pharisees, they're just after Paul tooth and nail. But Paul is innocent of everything. Okay, talk to you later.